Part 2 of John Stuart Mill's On Liberty, his 4 primary arguments against censorship, and the interrelations between those arguments and his general views on intellectual liberty. His first argument can be summarized as follows. To censor any opinion is to assume that we're infallible. So most of the time, for all we know, we're silencing a true opinion. In his second argument, he shows that even though we're censoring an opinion that we know to be false, many false claims bear some truth to them. Therefore, we shouldn't be censoring these either. Third argument. Even though we know a view to be true, or we strongly believe it to be true, unless we actually allow the view to be contested, it becomes accepted on the basis of bias and not reason, and this is a serious transgression. And fourthly, censoring any view actually turns us into unthinking machines, causing our beliefs to lose all significance. We'll see how this argument works in a moment. So the first argument is quite straightforward. Any opinion that we silence may turn out to be true. To deny this is to assume that we're infallible and that we can always tell the difference between a true and a false opinion. Certainly we all make mistakes, therefore we should never silence any opinion because it might turn out to be true. Secondly, even if you silence a false opinion, as we saw, it might very well turn out to contain some portion of truth, as so many falsehoods do. And since the most commonly accepted views in society usually contain some portion of error, it's only by the collision of adverse opinions that we have any hope of finding the whole truth. So in order to fortify and perfect our existing views and opinions, we need to open them up to the collision of adverse opinion by looking at contrary views, because even contrary views that are false may contain some portion of truth. This foreshadows the third and fourth arguments, because the third argument goes as follows. Even if the commonly accepted view is the whole truth, then unless it's contested by opposing views that we allow to be heard, it'll be the kind of belief that people hold with prejudice or bias, along the lines of, since everyone believes it, I'll believe it too. People will begin to hold that belief, in Mill's words, with little comprehension or rational grounds. And what separates us from lower creatures is precisely this ability to believe based on rational grounds and to defend our views. And fourthly and finally, whatever the view or doctrine that you hold, unless it's challenged by opposing views, even false opposing views, and unless you're forced to defend your own position, that position becomes utterly meaningless or useless in its effects, in Mill's word, on our character and conduct. Silencing contrary opinions actually renders our own useless, turning them into something that's inefficacious for good, a mere formality that prevents the growth of any real and heartfelt conviction from reason or personal experience. So, as we see, unless you're forced to defend your own opinions against opposing views, your opinions will suffer. They lose all of their significance. Any form of censorship essentially turns us into machines preaching unchallenged opinions without the ability to defend those opinions. Because, of course, we have nothing to defend those opinions against if we're censoring opposing views. Here's what I'd like you to take away from Mill, if nothing else. This idea of censorship and arguments against it runs so much deeper than trying to figure out what it is that we should let people say in public and what we should let people publish. This isn't just about freedom of publication, freedom of the press, and freedom of speech. Mill's contention is that if we take away any of these, we are interfering with the intellectual exchange of ideas, and we are actually taking away society's and an individual's capacity to reason. And so note that for John Stuart Mill, the freedom of expression is not just among one of the many liberties that we should be defending. It lies at the very foundation of the freedom of thought. Take away any freedom of expression for any individual in a society, and you will set a precedent to have it taken away from others. Take away freedom of expression in any form from any society, you will compromise our ability to reason, you will compromise our ability to think for ourselves, and our individuality proper.